live. So sorry about that. I turned things on and I forgot to hook up my mic. So hopefully everything's going good. Let me know in the chat if there's any problems. Tried to increase the volume from last time. It was a little bit low, I heard. So hopefully it's loud and clear this time. So today on Dunkin Junk Live, what we're going to be doing is dunking some hair from Scott Grove. Scott sent some hair in, and we're going to try casting it in resin. I know that other people have done it before, but I never have, and I thought it'd be something kind of fun to do, especially first thing of the new year. So how's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a great Friday. The weekend's coming, so should be pretty good, I think, for most people. We're going to kind of move right into it. I don't want to kind of mess around too much, but I'm going to kind of show you what's going on here, show you what we're casting. And then what I want you to think about, and I'm going to be reading the chat and seeing what you guys' ideas are. It's going to be kind of hard to keep up with the chat, so super chats I will definitely see because they kind of pop up in a separate window. So just to let everybody know, if you want a super chat, I will definitely see those first, I would say. But let's switch cameras and show you the hair that we got ready to cast. So let's switch to this view. Here we go. So we got a good baggie of hair. Let's open this thing up. So for anybody that doesn't know Scott Grove, he runs Imagine Grove. That's his website. Actually, let me put a link in the, I have a link to his channel. Let me copy that and, oh, I lost my thing. Here's a link to his channel. Go and subscribe. He's got lots of cool videos. Lots of interesting stuff. So Scott is a very creative person. He's like a master, what am I trying to say? Master veneer artist. He does resin casting stuff, and he's just really fun and creative. And he got a little bit of a haircut and decided, I'm going to send this to Zach. So we got some Scott Grove hair. And what I was thinking for this is, I think it'd be kind of cool if we made something kind of creative. I mean, he's a really creative and fun guy, artist, you know. I was thinking, let's try to make something like a tool handle. And actually, I got a really good idea, and I want to throw it out there from you guys. I'm going to look into the chat and see if you guys have any other ideas. But I was actually recording our podcast, the Resin Cast podcast, with Casey last night, or 2 nights ago, and he's like, hey, why don't you make an ice pick? And I was like, that's cool. You could totally use that for a bunch of different types of creative, artistic things. We can make a handle and put that together. So I'm going to throw that out there. I thought that was a really good idea. Very kind of, like I said, broadly useful to a lot of people. So let's see what's going on with the chat here. Lots of people from all over there. Liverpool, Austin, Texas. My wife's in Austin. That's interesting. She just flew there today. We got Australia, Birmingham, Austria, Pennsylvania, people from all over the world. Thanks for showing up to the stream, guys. If I have any, no, I don't think we're going to have any hair left over. I need some on the front. Everybody's always like, why do you wear this hat and why do you wear it backwards? 2 things. I don't have a whole lot of hair on the front. That's why I wear a hat. And I wear it backwards because otherwise it creates a shadow on my eyes. I don't really walk around with my hat backwards usually, so I could probably just glue some to the top of my head too. No, it's regular hair. Super dust mask, it'll be all right, I think. A pudding bowl. Yeah, a lot of people, somebody said, why don't you make him, what was it? You should make him something and send it back to him. I can't remember what it was now. Dog fur. Anybody have any other ideas besides a bowl? I don't see, the thing is, we're not going to have a lot of, there's not a lot of this stuff. And I think what I want to try to do is make one blank, and the way this is going to work, let me just kind of cover a couple things with how Dunkin Junk is going to work. So we're going to be doing Dunkin Junk live streams every Friday, and we'll be doing resin casting. I used to do this over on Twitch, which is kind of like YouTube, I guess. It's just a different platform. And what we were doing there is we would cast on Wednesdays and then we would turn something on Saturdays, you know, whatever we cast the week before. What I want to do, though, I found that less people were interested in watching me turn because I'm really not the best turner on the planet. And so what I think is better is if I do resin casting stuff only. So we're going to be doing it on Fridays, and I'll do resin casting we're going to do Dunkin junk, like for people that came from Twitch and are watching now. We're going to do it where we do experiments. We're dunking something, you know, kind of funky, Dunkin funky stuff. So hair today, we're going to test that out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a project video on my own. I find that there was two things, like I said. I think more people are interested in seeing the resin casting, and I have a lot more experience with that. The other thing is, it's really hard for me to get good angles of the turning and the project making because I have a lot of things that are going on that I have to kind of focus on, and I don't get good camera angles. So I think it's just better, I'll be able to create better videos for the projects if I just do that on my own. So that's what's going to happen, and what I'm hoping is that I'll be able to get it done and then the video up the following week. So, you know, we're shooting this on Friday. I'm hoping to get the project done and then shot, the video shot, and then up next Sunday. That's kind of how things are going, or what I'd like to do. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, you will see the final product. Like I said, it's just I'd rather make a better video that I can, you know, get the good angles, get really good lighting on it, and get, you know, make them more interesting than me just standing there turning. Yeah, a razor handle. Yeah, I thought about turning a turning thing, but I don't know. It's gonna probably, that would definitely take up all the hair is another thing. And what I'd like to do is make a couple extra blanks, and what I'll do is I'll put them for sale. I think I will make a batch of pen blanks if we have enough hair left over. And then anything that I make on the show, that extra blanks basically, I'm gonna put them up on my website for sale under the short run section. And I'm gonna put a link to that. That's where I put all my kind of, for anybody that doesn't know, I sell pen blanks and other turning blanks, but most of what I've been selling is pen blanks only. That short run section is just things that I do, different size blanks, bigger ones. You know, it's going to be these interesting types of blanks that we make on Dunkin Junk. That's where I do the just fun creative stuff. So there's pen blanks, bowl blanks, you know, sphere blanks, lidded box blanks, all kinds of different stuff, different materials. And it's something that I'm not going to keep stock of. Everything else on my website, all the pen blanks, those are all, I just keep an inventory all the time. So let me head over to my website, go get a link just in case anybody wants to check that out. There are some things up there. There's some honeycomb handle blanks and a couple other different things. If you saw that pine cone, the 25,000 subscribers, which we still haven't hit, I feel horrible about that. I kind of jumped the gun on that, but we should be pretty close. I think we're a couple hundred away now. But if you saw that, I have some pine cone blanks like that up on there. So here is the link. Yeah, the shaving brush thing is you know, but that's kind of obvious. That's my only problem. And like I said, I really want to do something where that the idea, what I had in my brain, I guess, is Scott's a really creative artist, and I think that, you know, having his hair in the handle of something is going to rub off his mojo, his artistic creative mojo on the person using it. So I think so far I'm leaning towards the ice pick. I actually have a file that I can, and it has a ferrule and all that kind of stuff. So I have this thing ready to rock that I can just glue into the handle with a ferrule, and then I'll just you know, grind that down to a point. So I think that's what I'm going to do for the project. But what I'm going to do is also make some pen blanks, and yeah, so we'll do a handle blank and some pen blanks. So I'm going to move the camera over so we can get in the casting mode. Let's see here. It's hard to keep up with the chat. Like I said, if anybody has like questions that you want answered, and I may not see them, I'm going to try and answer questions when I run across them, but I'll be busy doing stuff and the chat goes by pretty quick. So if you have a burning question, the super chat is the way to do it, because I'll see that at the top. So I'm going to switch to that other camera while I move the main one over to the resin casting area. So you can look at Scott's hair for a sec while I move this thing. But we'll get going here. So I'm going to be using a Lumalite Clear Slow Set as my resin for this project. Actually, maybe I'll use liquid diamonds first, and then we'll do the pen blanks with a Lumalite Clear. And that'll give you two different types of resin that I can kind of share with you guys. All right, so here is our, let me turn my little screen here so I can see what I'm doing. Here's our little resin casting area. Let's get these two guys out of the way. We'll bring our Scott Grove hair over. And for you guys that were over on Twitch, I'm not going to be having music during my streams anymore for two reasons. I'm pretty sure YouTube just flat out will not allow it. And the other thing is, with all these, whatever, that kind of weird legislation stuff with Europe, YouTube and all the social media things are like super cracking down on using copyrighted anything, anywhere. So I just couldn't get away with it. So it will be quiet, unfortunately, but yeah, it does look like a dead rat, doesn't it? You know what I need? I think it was shampooed. It smells lovely. It really does. You know what I need is, I've moved I wonder if I can log in with my YouTube app. We're still kind of getting the feel of how all this stuff works with YouTube. I kind of had things down on Twitch, and I haven't even streamed for a little while, so we are just gonna have to kind of deal with it. Let's see if I can tune in on my phone, and I might be able to see the chat.
I wonder if I can log in with my...
Shush me. Okay, so I can kind of see the chat, sorta. I'll try to keep up with it. Like I said, it's kind of tough, but so let's use Liquid Diamonds for the first one because I got a little bit more of it. Liquid Diamonds is an epoxy product. It's super clear, very thin product. I get it at Turner's Warehouse. Pretty good resin. What I use this for usually, most of what I use is Alumilite Clear. Okay, that's what most of my stuff is. I also use Alumilite White for some of my pen blanks, but for the show, generally most of the things are going to be Alumilite Clear Slow Set. But I'm just going to start out with this one. Liquid Diamonds is a longer working time, and so it kind of makes things a little bit easier if you need a lot of working time. Now, I don't necessarily need a lot of working time for this project. That's not why I'm using it. I just have a lot of it sitting around, and may as well. But Alumilite Clear Slow Set, that's a 12 minutes working time, and then it's got a 2 to 4 hour demold time. This is going to give me 45 minutes of working time. So like I said, if you got something really complex that you're making and you need the working time, micarta comes to mind, stuff like that. Liquid Diamonds will be good. I also like this. It has some UV inhibitors, whereas Alumilite Clear doesn't. So if you're doing a dead clear casting, it's not a bad one. There's lots of different resins out there, though. I prefer Alumilite Clear because I like the speed. I like being able to get it in there, get it done, and then move on quicker. But when I do need working time, this is the one that I prefer, I guess. It works good for me. One thing that I will say, one of the reasons that I like Alumilite Clear, slow set, it doesn't matter, the Alumilite Clear, if you're doing things like color swirl, or you need to, you're using like a glitter type thing and you need it to stay floating, not sink or not float, to the surface, it'll cure faster, it'll harden faster and lock that stuff in place. So it makes things a little bit easier than having to wait 45 minutes for something like this to lock it in place, to harden. Okay, so first thing that I do all the time with every casting is I'm gonna write down notes. I have a notebook and I'm gonna actually write down exactly what mold I'm using. I have this notebook over here. I'm gonna write down what resin I'm using, what mold I'm using, all that stuff. Now, I kind of had pre-planned the ice pick, and I think what I'm going to do is we're going to also cast with this little burl chunk in the end. That'll also make it a little bit better for, where the piece is going to. Let's see, where is it at? Where the tang of the file goes in there. Having a piece of wood will be a lot sturdier than that resin. So I think I'm going to do that. I think it'll look kind of cool. So I already got that stuck in there. I'm going to throw this in the oven. I like to heat up my molds and anything that I'm casting before I do it. So let me get to some notes here. Actually, I have another notebook that I usually use for Dunkin junk stuff. So let me look at the chat. This is hard. I don't have the chat right in my face here. Let's see if there's any. Nope, nothing really. So what are you guys all up to? How was your week? I went snowboarding yesterday. It was kind of a bust. I decided to try to start learning how to ride switch, which is, for anybody that doesn't know what that means, snowboarders tend to, kind of like skateboarding, you're going to have kind of a natural feel for how you like to ride the board. And for me, my left foot is forward when I'm riding. That's the natural thing. Switch means you're riding it backwards, where your right foot is going down the hill first. And it's really hard. I've been boarding for 25 years, and I've really honestly never even done that, and it was pretty wicked. I was literally a beginner again. It was crazy. So let me write down some notes. So I'm putting down kind of a little description of what I'm doing. Scott Grove's hair. We're going to be using that mold. I like to call my stopper. I'm actually just going to call it a 1.75 inch stopper mold. The dimensions of this mold. Let me pull it back out. The dimensions are about 1 3/4 wide, and I think it's about 6.5 long and about 2 inches deep, something like that. And if you need to figure out what, how much resin you need to use, I'm actually going to do that right now. Well, actually, I know how much that one generally takes, but if you ever need a calculator, Alumilite has a volume calculator. They have a volume calculator on their website. Just kind of type in Google Alumilite and volume calculator, and it'll pull up. And you can just enter in the dimensions of your mold, and it'll tell you how much resin you will need. So that mold, usually I think it holds about 350 grams total if I was just filling it with resin. And then I got a little chunk of burl, so let's just try 300. I also don't care if it goes to the top. I don't need it to be a full-size blank. So we're going to go with 300. That makes things a lot easier. Liquid Diamonds is a 2-to-1 by volume or weight mix ratio. So I'm going to do 200 grams of Part A. Is that what they call this? Part A resin. Part A resin, 200 grams of that, 100 grams of the Part B, which is hardener. And one little tip for epoxies that I just recently found out. I usually, like I said, I usually use Alumilite. It's a polyurethane-based resin. Liquid Diamonds is an epoxy-based. And I found out that epoxies, if you add too much hardener, they can become rubbery. Like it seems backwards to me in my mind that if you add too much hardener, it makes it softer, but so just kind of watch out. You can kind of, a lot of different formulas, you can kind of adjust things here and there with epoxies. And so you kind of, for turning blanks, you want them to be nice and hard. So don't over add Part B. I'm actually going to add probably a little extra Part A to this mixture, just to make sure. Okay, so we're going to go with dead clear. I don't see the point in putting anything else in here. I don't know. Let me actually ask, is anybody... I'm thinking we just fill this with hair pretty much. And by the way, there's other stuff in here. I don't know if you guys saw this. There's like other little things that's like sawdust. I think he was like turning or something before he cut his hair. I don't know. I don't know the full story. But that's what's going on with the hair. I really need something that shows me the chat. It's 0 degrees. Good Lord. I guess if I just put it up, I put my phone up and down, it's not too bad. Put it back in there. So I'll be working on trying to keep up with the chat as best I can. Hey, what's up, Brian? How's it going? Glad you made it. Let's see here. Okay. And we're using Liquid Diamonds resin. So in this, what I have written down, I don't know if you guys can see this. Scott Grove's hair, 300 grams. Right there. 200. What I'm going to do is actually make it 199 Part A, 101 Part B. No, that's the wrong way to do it. I totally did that wrong. 201. I was just telling you not to add too much part B. 201 part A, and I'm going to do 99 part B. So I like to write that down. That way I know what's going on. And I'm using my 1 3/4 inch stopper thing, and then liquid LD is liquid diamonds. So I just like to keep notes. That tells me it's good to do that before you pour, just so you know what you're doing. Like I almost screwed up, with the 201 and 99. And then you can go back in your notebook and add notes, and it really is going to make you get better at resin casting faster. It did that for me when I started doing that. The other thing that the notebook does is if you need to do something and get repeated results, that's the best way to do it. So we're going 201. Can you guys see the... Gotta work on my camera angles. I had 2 cameras before for Twitch, but I don't want to clog up the screen. So we're just going to do one. I'll have to just kind of move it, get the best shot that I can. It's a work in progress, guys, So again, we're going for 201. $200. There we go, 201. And 99 part B. So it's just a slight difference, but I'm definitely not going to be over, part A-ing this. I'm not going to add more part A, more part B. I'm going to definitely have less part B in this mixture, just slightly. That is different. Now, Alumilite is different. Polyurethanes are not the same way. And part of the reason why this is kind of a big deal for me personally is because I usually add more part B when I'm making something really clear with Alumilite clear. It helps make sure that you get a dead clear, like the best clarity possible. By adding just a little extra part B to the mixture. So it's kind of, it's kind of crazy. A lot of times it's almost not worth really doing, using a bunch of different types of resins. It's best to kind of really understand, one. Or maybe put another way, you really got to kind of understand what you're doing if you use something new. And I'm still learning as I go too, because I don't really use epoxy that much, and I didn't even know that fact. I was talking to Chad Schimmel about it, and he's like, yeah, I learned this from one of the chemists at some epoxy company. I'm shooting for 99. Like I said, I'll have 45 minutes of working time once I get this. And I'm going slow here. We'll have 45 minutes of working time once I get this mixed up. So lots of time. I don't really plan on... I don't think the hair is going to move around that much in the casting. There we go, 99. Pour the rest of that B back. But we'll find out, It may float or sink, I'm not sure. Now, one of the most important things when you're mixing up resin is you need to make sure that you get it mixed quite well. And especially with something that has a really long open time, definitely just sit there and stir it for a few minutes. Make sure you've got all of the part A's and the part B's mixed up nicely, and scrape the sides, the edge of the cup, scrape your stick off. You want to make sure that everything's blended very well. If it's not, you can have areas where there's like kind of liquid gooey stuff running out of your blanks in the end. Or it just won't cure properly if you've done a really terrible job of, measuring it out or mixing it. So you don't want to go too far off with your measurements, and you want to make sure you stir it really well. 108 on the east coast of Australia. Woo! Yeah, you guys are in summer. It's so crazy. I took a trip to Australia. This was many, many years ago. My wife was doing a semester abroad in college, and so I went down there and visited. And I honestly, I don't even think I didn't realize that the seasons were different on the southern hemisphere. I'd never been there before. So I left here in, well, it wasn't like a massive difference, although I was living in Vegas, so it was like spring in Vegas, so it was like probably in the 90s Fahrenheit, and then it was pretty cold down there. Well, we went to the northeast coast, so it actually was kind of nice at the Great Barrier Reef, but New Zealand was cold. We did the second half of the trip in New Zealand. All right, so I'm mixing this up nice and good. Like I said, I got all the time in the world, so there's really, with something that's got a good amount of working time, you got plenty of time to stir it up real well. Now, like I was saying, I don't really see the point in adding anything else to this. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have some burl in there and hair. I don't really want to put anything in there that's going to kind of muddy it up. You want to see the hair. That's kind of half the point, I think. So I think we're just going to go for dead clear. But unless somebody has some other idea that might be cool that won't overwhelm the hair, let me know. All right, so I might need to look into a different system or something. I don't know. I'm on my, like, the YouTube live streaming thing. It's just not the most awesome interface. All right, so this mold's starting to heat up. I'm gonna actually, there's some dust in this mold. I wanted to blow that out. I'm gonna keep warming this mold up a little bit more, just to make sure that it's good, and also that piece of burl. It was stabilized burl, but it was just kind of sitting out. So I just want to make sure there's no surface moisture sitting around on there. That heat will dissipate any of that. You don't want moisture when you're casting. That's most resins will kind of react with it. Or worst case scenario, you're going to get air bubbles kind of coming off of it once the heat of the resin kind of warms up the water, the moisture. So in the meantime, let's see what else is going on. I'm going to check into the chat here. Vacuum chamber lid gets spider cracks. I've heard of that, I think. Usually I think that means that that it was too thin. I may be wrong though. I'm definitely not an expert. Let's see here. Yeah, so somebody was asking about pressure or vacuum, and pressure is better for resin casting. Vacuum's what you want to use for like stabilizing wood. And vacuum is also used for, you're going to use that to remove air bubbles. They call it degassing silicone if you're trying to make a silicone mold that needs to go under pressure. So yeah, pressure works the best. It works instantaneously, and it collapses air bubbles. And then once the resin hardens in there, the bubbles are just effectively gone. It puts them into solution, they don't come back. Vacuum, it does the opposite. It's going to expand air bubbles in the resin. And the problem with it is it works extremely slowly. So if you're using a Lumalite clear, that's a pretty fast setting resin. You only got about 12 minutes working time. you're not going to have enough time anyway for vacuum to work. You can use a super slow setting resin, but what I've also found is a lot of the epoxies have chemicals in them, or actually any resin. Vacuum, when you put certain chemicals under vacuum, their boiling point can oftentimes drop. And so you can end up boiling your resin with vacuum. Like, there's just so many problems with it that it's just, I don't recommend it. I know some people do use it, but I don't really think that it's really worth it. Pressure just works the best. So that's my take on it anyway. Okay, so I think we're good to go here. Now, what I'm going to do, if I'm mixing something into, something small like this, into my cup, or I'm sorry, if I'm adding something kind of thin and like little particles of stuff like hair or glitter, or I'm trying to think of some other examples here. If you were doing, what else do we do where I mix it in? Like aluminum shavings, where like little things where there's lots of little ones, I would rather put it into the cup like this, kind of small pieces of it, and mix it into the resin before you dump it in there. What that's going to do is it's going to get, all of the little particles of stuff, whatever it may be that you're casting. In this case, hair. You're going to get that resin all over it. If you just stuck it in the mold and then poured resin over it, there is a likelihood that it won't, get on every little piece. So I always just put it into the cup, stir it in with it, and then dump the whole thing out for smaller particles like that. Now, on the other hand, I have this burl chunk just sitting in my mold, and larger things like that, I'm just going to stick in the mold. The main thing is you don't want to put stuff in your mold where it's going to trap air bubbles underneath it. Even under a pressure pot, if there's a giant air pocket in the mold somehow, this is nasty. Hairy resin. But if you trap a giant air pocket, the pressure pot can't get rid of air pockets. It gets rid of bubbles. So you want to make sure that you're not creating, air voids within your within the mold and any stuff that you're sticking in there. What do you guys think of this? Yummy. That's yummy. Let me get a good shot in here. I'm just gonna keep adding hair and some wood shavings. Thanks to Scott. Why the hair? What I do is Dunkin junk, and we experiment. Scott sent the hair in, so we're dunking it in resin. It's kind of gross though, isn't it? It's kind of weird. No apparent reason other than experimental curiosity. Because that's really what we do around here. I know, it's like a weird kind of, it's weird, I don't know. Trying to get some good shots of it. Problem is I need some light. I need to shine some light on the subject here. Maybe that'll help a little bit. It's kind of just reflecting off the cup. So let's add just a little bit more. What I'm doing here, so I need to kind of keep in mind, what is this going to look like in the blank? And so, I think that's probably enough hair, enough density of the material. It's you can't really see through it. Now, I think it's going to be a little bit better than this in the original blank. That I think you'll be able to kind of tell a little bit more what it is. Maybe, I don't know. That's why we're doing this, to experiment and see what works. But I don't think I need to add any more, basically. I think we've loaded it up good enough. And so from here, we're just going to drop it into the mold. Let's see if I can get a better, whoop, ripping the thing off here. Sorry about that. There, you guys can, I think I'll put it this way. There, maybe that'll be good. Ah, there we go. So you can see it plopping. I think it's just going to kind of plop in there. Are you guys ready for this? Who's ready for this? Yeah, it probably is going to look disgusting. But I don't know. I did like faux fur before. That was pretty gross too. Haven't done any human hair though. I will be honest, I haven't done that yet. Hey, look at that. I pretty much nailed it perfect. Now, there's some air that's going to be trapped in this resin hair mixture, so it's going to actually, the volume of the blank is going to be a little bit lower than this once we pressurize it. But that was a pretty good estimation. I don't think I could have got it any closer. So from here, let me take my gloves off. We're taking the gloves off. And I'm going to try to set this camera up so that we can put it in the pressure pot. So what I'm going to do now is put it in the pressure pot, and one of the other differences or things about liquid diamonds, it has a longer working time, but it also needs to stay in the pressure pot for, I believe it's like 8 to 12 hours. I don't think there's any instructions on the jug. I can't remember exactly what it is. Basically, when it needs to stay in the pot that long, I'm just going to leave it overnight, basically. So, switch camera views real quick. Get this stuff out of the way. Got cords and things all over. And put it right in there. Lock down the lid. And we are done. Try not to grab my cords. The black blob. I don't know. I actually think it's going to kind of clear up a little bit more once it's hardened. But I don't know. See, that's, somebody asked, why are you doing this? The reason I started Dunkin Junk is because I like to experiment with resin and different materials. The thing is, you never know what's actually going to happen until you actually try it. So that's what we're doing. Trying things out. A lot of times things fail, or they don't look good, or whatever, but a lot of times things turn out way different than you would have ever expected. And even with failures, what I've found is failures oftentimes, maybe you didn't get the result that you wanted, but you learned something new. Maybe you learned something that might be useful in some other type of setting, or with different materials, let's say. So I think it's valuable to just experiment. I know that it costs money. It ain't cheap to waste resin, I guess, in a sense, but we're having fun with it. Having a little bit of fun. All right, so let's make some pen blanks, and I'll put these guys up on the website if anybody is interested. I agree that this is kind of an odd, weird thing. However, you never know. Sorry if that was loud. I was just blowing out my mold. What I'm going to use for these, I just have these P-Town Subby, ptownsubby.com, single pen blank molds. So I'm going to do the same exact thing, and then we're just going to pour them into here. Now this might be kind of messy, pouring it into this type of mold, trying to get little bits. So I may not pack it as thick, because that was kind of like molasses thick with that last casting. But I'm going to pop that into the oven, and I'm going to get some gloves on. And yeah, we're preserving Scott Grove. He must be preserved. Let me I need to, hold on real quick, guys. I'm going to move my interfaces around a little bit and see if I can get this to work better. Yeah, I have done aluminum shavings. They turn out pretty cool. We might have to do that on the stream sometime. I did those in when I was doing demos in Texas at the SWAT symposium. So we made quite a few of them there. And I also have a video. If anybody didn't see this video, I was just testing out one of those spring form cake molds, and we made this kind of bowl blank kind of thing, and that's all aluminum shavings in there. I've been waiting to turn this. I'm not sure not sure when I'm going to get to it, but it is pretty fun. The one thing is you got to make sure that you clean up, clean any solvents or stuff, that might be on the aluminum shavings, depending on where you got it from. But other than that, it's all pretty straightforward. Get me a new box of gloves here. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, it's, let's see here. Stabilizing road apples, yeah. Everybody, someday I might. I don't love that idea. One of the best ones that I've seen, though, there's a guy up in Alaska who does casting and makes pen blanks and stuff. He does moose droppings, stabilized moose droppings. It's awesome. I think that's just hilarious. Perfect for, he's up in Alaska. I think it's just crazy. All right, so these things, I can't remember. I think that they each take about 60. I have another one that's similar, but these are the same size. I think these things take about, I think that was better with a little bit of light on. I want to say about 65 grams of resin if you were just filling it with resin only. So I'm just going to estimate that. It's probably going to kind of thicken up a little bit with that hair anyway. So again, I'm going to go into my notebook over here. And we're going to do Scott Grove hair. This stuff it's worth its weight in gold, guys. Not very heavy, obviously. The mold I'm using is the 4 single P-Town subby. And then we're going to use Alumilite Slow Set Clear. And then we're doing 4 times 65. The nice thing about Alumilite is it's 1-to-1 ratio. So things are, a lot easier. So that's 260 grams total, 130 times 2. Now, I got a question for you guys. Should we do anything with these pen blank ones? Do you want to try? I would say that it's not a bad idea to try adding dye to it or, something, just so that we get kind of a different look. We can maybe kind of break off 2 of these blanks. We have a 4 blank mold. We could try, 2 just clear for pen blanks, and then we could try a couple that have some dye in them, or I don't know, glitter. We could put some of my Starlight glitter in there if you want. I don't know if that's going to show up here. Focus. Oh, we're on the... You know what? I screwed up. It is using both cameras. I forgot that I'm using a different thing here, so we don't have the bit jar. Sorry about that. That's cool. That works all right. Let me get rid of the header though and all that stuff. Sorry about that. I totally didn't even realize. What's all this other stuff? There we go. Now we're looking a little bit better. We're going to do this right in the middle of the stream. We're going to move things around. Hopefully that doesn't screw up the stream. Oh. One more thing real quick here. There. How about that? So anyway, we got starlight glitter. So let me look at my, I don't have any gold leaf. That is a really good idea though. I don't have any. Try white. Yeah, there probably is gold leaf in there too. White. Let's see here. Can I make them go side by side? I'm not in, oh, like glitter on one side and hair on the other? Is that what you're talking about? I don't think it'll really, I mean, I kind of could, I guess, actually. Let's try that. So, okay. Let's, I'll tell you right now, that would be a lot easier using a bigger mold. Doing like a side-by-side, you could just mix up, half a cup of just resin or white resin or whatever, and then pour the hair stuff on the other side. I would say that's probably going to be a lot easier than trying to get it in these single pen blank mold things, but I can maybe try it out. It's a lot less resin. So let's put some glitter, because I think Scott would get a kick out of adding glitter to his hair. We'll do a little bit of glitter in one of them. Let's try 4 of them. So one of them is going to be with starlight glitter and hair. One of them is going to be half and half. One of them is going to be clear with hair. And then one of them, let's put that white dye in. And are you guys thinking like we'll dye the resin, like dye it all white and then just put the hair in there? I think that's what you're probably thinking. For the half and half, what I'm going to do is we're going to just tint. Let's go with like a pearl color, like a Pearl X, Caster's Choice type of thing. Let's put some, actually guys, let's put some gold. Speaking of gold leaf, let's go with a little bit of gold, half and half gold, and we'll just see how that works pouring both at the same time. How about that? I don't think that gray dye would really do much. It's just going to all look the same at that point. So we got Caster's Choice Gold. This camera never focuses on anything. It's really awesome. Anyway, okay, so we're doing 130 grams times 2. Again, we're going to be using a Lumalite Clear slow set this time. All right. So 130 grams of part A and part B mixed together. So I'm adding my part A. How are we doing on time here? We're running to the end here. I want to try and keep the streams about an hour. We'll probably go over a little bit today, but that's okay. I'm not that worried. Are you guys worried? Tell you what, without any music going on in the background, it is kind of odd. It's like super quiet in my shop. Oh, I went over a little bit, so I'm actually going to just take some of this out. There we go. And we'll add our 130 grams of part B. I like the pumps on these jugs. I like using for Lumalite Clear. It just makes the part B can get really thick, and it's harder to kind of just pour out. So I really like the pumps on the 2-gallon jugs, and I think that they came out with pumps for the smaller ones too now. Sneaking up here. There we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm mixing up the entire amount in one cup real quick, and then I'm just going to dump it out into other smaller cups. You know, dump out each pen blank amount since we're doing something different to each one. Now, when you're doing something with, you know, a resin that's a little faster setting, I highly recommend using a timer so you don't get caught with your pants down. You don't want the resin setting up before you get it, you know, cast in the mold and in the pressure pot. So I like to start counting after I've got, you know, obviously you kind of need to wait till it's mixed. So once I get it nice and mixed up, I'm going to hit the timer and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Okay, timer. Then, where are those cups that I had? Ah, they're underneath. So I'm going to get a few extra cups here. We're going to pour out 65 grams or so each. Now, it's probably better to add a little bit extra if you're going to be breaking it off like this. There's just inherently going to be more. Every cup that you pour out of, there's going to be some that's left in the cup. So if you're doing it this way, I would recommend using a little extra resin just to kind of factor in with that. So I might have kind of undershot it on this, I'm not sure. We'll see though. Oops, too much. There we go. So we got 1, 2. I'm going to do one with a little less resin, I think. Maybe. I guess they're all going to have hair added to them, so never mind. Sometimes I think on the fly, and I probably shouldn't. Best to just not think. Oh, that one's got a little too much. It's okay, though. Okay, so we got our 4 cups. And we're going to put a stick in each one. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of gold to one of them. See, that's going to be the half and half. So even that one, we're actually going to need to split that cup into 2. And I'm just going to add a little scoop of the gold. You don't really need a lot. There's just not really that much resin even in the cup. So I'm going to add a little bit of gold. Might add a little bit more than that, actually. Yeah, I'll probably add a little bit more than that. Let's call it 2 scoops, just like Raisin Bran. And add just a little bit more, another one of those little scoops. There we go. That'll be nice and kind of darker. And then we got half is just clear. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of hair to this. I'm not going to get too crazy with it. Let's go with this little bunch. I'm going to try and kind of separate it out. Now, if there was any kind of weird contaminations in the hair, it may cause a reaction with the resin. So again, there's a lot of things with these experiments that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily find out. It's not like you're going to know, and unexpected things can happen that, you know, it's best to not experiment too much with stuff that you really want to get right. You know, if it's something that you can't really, it's going to make you mad if you ruin. I wouldn't experiment too much, but I like to experiment with just random stuff. That way, you know, there's not really consequences too much. Try to reduce the amount of risk. And then in this one, we're just going to put some glitter. So that was just kind of a scoop, let's say, of glitter. And I sell this Starlight glitter stuff on my website. I like to make the Twilight blanks with it. I add color shift powder, which I also sell, and then those things, and it kind of looks like a kind of a nebula, kind of galaxy effect. So not too much. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's not ridiculously, you know, I don't want it to be all sparkly. Now I got to be kind of careful with the hair though, because I don't want it to totally overtake our glitter now. So I'm going to be a little bit, there's not that much hair in there. I don't know if you can see that. Not a whole lot of hair. We're going to mix it in and we're going to just add a little bit at a time. It's kind of clumpy. It's something that you can't really, it's kind of hard to keep it from like just clumping up basically in the resin. It's really odd. So looking at the clock right now, we're at 5 minutes and 29 seconds. Again, we have 12 minutes, so I kind of maybe need to hurry it up a little bit. I think that that's going to be good. Can you see that? Not too much of either the hair or the glitter. Now, white dye is going to make it opaque, so I'm going to just put a good amount in there. It's going to be totally opaque. And then we're going to add some hair. And I think we could add quite a bit of hair because it's going to be opaque around it. So let's just kind of throw some clumps in there. That's kind of gross. I'm going to go for a little bit more. Six minutes. We still got quite a bit of time. We're doing good still. That's gross. Maybe a little bit more. We want to make sure that there's lots of hair in between the white. So I think we can really kind of load this one up with hair. Okay, one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get our mold out of the oven. It should be nice and warm. I want to start pouring some of these things. Sometimes, especially if it's something that's kind of clumpy, you know, you might want to kind of get it in there and start pouring it early. So let's see how this works out. This one's really gross. I don't like this one at all. I'm not digging the white. That's just, it's really kind of gross. So there we have that. Here's the other one with the clear with glitter. It's a little bit low in that mold. I think that this one's going to turn out pretty well, pretty good. So I'm going to add and just make sure that we got enough resin in there. What else do we have here? I'm going to toss this cup. We got our gold. Okay, so this is going to be kind of difficult. One thing that I can do is, let's see, does this fit? No, that doesn't fit. I need something that is as wide as the mold. One thing that you can do is just kind of dam up the mold. So maybe if I turn this thing this way for you guys while I'm pouring it. I'm going to get this stupid window out of the way. We don't need that. There. Get that thing out of the way. And so having a dam like that, now we can pour half in. Oh, we're at 9 minutes. Things are starting to kind of set up here. I think we're going to need a little bit more resin in here, in this side. So we're only going to get 3 of these done, I think. And then gold on the other side. I might need to kind of, I think what I'm going to have to do here is we're going to release, I'm going to try and move this dam down a little bit, which is going to kind of squish up that gold, and then pour some more of the clear on this other side to kind of take up some of the space. Okay, and then we just release that, and that should work out pretty good. So like I said, we're pretty much out of time, guys, so with the resin. So I'm just going to kind of turn the camera towards the pressure pot. We're going to drop it in. Now, one thing I do want to mention is if you're going to be using a silicone mold, use some sort of a hard surface to put it on. Otherwise, the silicone mold, when you pressurize it, is going to follow the curvature of the bottom of your pressure pot. And CA Technologies pots are pretty flat, but they're not dead flat. So you're going to have kind of banana-shaped pen blanks if you don't put something hard under there. All right. So we missed out on that dead clear one. I can do one of those. Whoa, moving my table. I can make one of those on my own. But it's not going to be any different than what we just did. Just mix in some hair and dump it in there. Actually, we're going to get a good idea of what that's going to look like anyway, so it's not really necessary. But I got a little bit of hair left. We got a little bit left. I think I'm going to keep it just in case, you know, the nice thing, I like to kind of keep some of the material that we do tests with, because you might find that you learn how to do something, or you might realize like, oh, this would be a cool way to use this after you've done your initial tests. So it's good to kind of keep a little bit more just in case we want to use it again and maybe do it a little bit better after we learn some lessons. So let me just kind of clean some of this stuff up here and put the hair away, and then we'll just kind of wrap things up. So I apologize, I couldn't really keep an eye on the chat while I was doing most of that casting. Alumilite, you got to kind of move quick, so not a lot of time to just kind of mess around. Let me, just going to kind of set this thing up, this other camera up a little bit so that you can sort of see some, what the heck just happened? There, okay. And switch to this camera while I'm moving the other one, so you don't have to look at that. Otherwise, it can kind of make you sick while I'm resetting all of the cameras. All right. Switch back to this camera real quick. So I hope you guys had a good time. Let me stop before we end the show here and just see if see if there's any questions. Again, if you have any questions that you want to make sure I see, use the super chat. Also, if you want to support the show, that's a good way to throw a donation out. The other thing I also want to mention is for anybody that's kind of that wasn't here for the last stream, I finally also did set up a Patreon. Sorry, it's going to be kind of shaky at the end here. I put it on the top of this tower that I'm using for a keyboard also. So the camera kind of shakes with it. And I lost my mouse. Where'd my mouse go? Oh. There we go. I found my mouse. I lost my mouse for a second, guys. And this would have been a lot easier if I had this link ready. So anyway, I have a Patreon account set up if you want to support me monthly there. We're kind of growing as we go with that one. I wasn't sure exactly how to set that up with all the different rewards, so it's kind of simple right now, and I thought, you know, once we get some patrons going, which I already have quite a few actually, thank you guys who are patrons. Actually, shoot, I'm gonna mention the patrons in the next video. But I figured we kind of expand on the Patreon thing kind of together to see what everybody wants out of that. What's the most important things out of that. So you can head over there if you'd like. So let me stop real quick. I keep losing, I'm sorry guys, I keep losing the mouse and it's really screwing me up here. Don't you hate it when you lose your mouse? Ah, strings and blings, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that I finally decided to switch to YouTube. I should have done that a long time ago, honestly. Oh, hey David, actually it's cool because if you just showed up like David did, it's gonna be live. It's gonna be like saved. It might take a little bit. I don't know how I had it set up, if it's gonna be like live right away or if it's going to be in a little bit, but it's all of the replays are just going to go up on my stream. That's part of the reason why I just wanted to do every Friday we're doing a live stream, and we're just going to focus on resin casting because I want to keep it all on my YouTube channel, like, you know, available for everybody, rather than do a lot of different things and then kind of work on the projects and put a little bit more time into that, do it, you know, not live. So if you just joined in, you can, and the other thing is you can always, I have it set up where you can, if you just started, you could scroll back and look, I think like up to 4 hours, which they're only going to last about an hour every Friday. So you can always go to the beginning and kind of scrub through and see, you know, kind of catch up that way, I guess. No, the blanks are going to be, what I'm going to do is I'll show the blanks and everything in the project video. And the first one might be kind of weird. Like I'm going to have to kind of figure out how to best do that. So I may kind of fall short on some things. But what I plan to do is show the blanks after I demold them. And then we'll kind of go through the project making whatever. Now, what I'm going to do for the project is, again, I have this, I have a round file that I got. I don't know where I got it, but I have it and it had a handle, and I just took the whole thing apart. So I got a ferrule and I got a file, and what I'm going to do is just kind of shape this down into a point and then, you know, glue it basically into the blank after I turn that. So we're going to be making an ice pick. I don't know if I don't think I said that. We're making an ice pick. So I'm hoping to get that done. I'm hoping to get it done and then the video up next Sunday. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll definitely show shots of the blanks after we get them done. And so we made, I guess it's only 3 pen blanks. Each one, I think each one of those, I may save one, and maybe, I don't know if Scott's watching, but I might make a pen for him and send it up there. So there's either going to be 2 or 3 pen blanks available on my website from the ones that we made today. So yeah, so that's how it's going to work. So anyway, I think it's, let's see, let me just scrub through real quick. That's what I was trying to do a while ago. 90 grams. It doesn't take 90 grams for those things. That was too much. 75 maybe. I think that's, I don't know. That worked pretty good. It was close. Anyway. Okay, so I don't think I missed anything. All right, so I'm going to shut it down, guys. Again, thank you all for coming out and joining the first live stream of the year. They'll probably get better as I go. I'm a little bit kind of off kilter. I kind of had things down with Twitch. And so like finding where you know, looking at things on the screen and trying to find stuff and the camera angles. As I go back and kind of, you know, review the videos, we'll try and, you know, clean up the edges a little bit and make sure that we got, you know, good views and we're making it fun for everybody. If anybody has any like suggestions or anything like that, you can leave that in the comments. I think, so this is the chat, which is not the comments of the video, but if you go back to the video, once it goes, goes live on my, like the replay, once it's up on my page, if you have any comments or anything like that, suggestions on how to do things that might make it better, definitely leave those there. I'll definitely listen, and you know, you guys are the ones watching it. I'm kind of trying to, from this side, make things work. So if you saw something that I'm not seeing, let me know. So, hey, Jamie Page, what's up, man? How's it going? Is McEwen here? Mike, how's it going? Wow, all kinds of fun people. Cool. So I'm going to head out, guys. I got to actually get some blanks made. I got to restock inventory on the pen blanks. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening tonight. Hope you have a really good weekend. Hopefully you got some fun stuff planned. And I think that's about it. So I will see you guys on the next live stream next Friday at 3 p.m. I actually have a couple of ideas of things that we might kind of experiment with. Or I might do like a quick tip type thing and kind of show you guys like a very specific tip. I'm just going to kind of wing it on the show topics. We'll do 1 week a month. We're going to do this Dunkin junk stuff where we take some kind of material and dunk it in resin, see what it, see how it works and what it turns into, how it looks. The other 3, I'm going to do either like a quick tips video. I might do some turning a little bit here and there. Or I'll do like kind of experiments, things that maybe I have materials or supplies or, whatever, and just kind of go with it and just do something that I think will be fun to watch, and informative or, whatever. So that's kind of what we got going on. I will see you guys all on next Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. And again, have a wonderful weekend, guys.